Today we're looking at your Monday Night Raw hot takes. This is a series in which I ask in the YouTube community tab what your thoughts, opinions, and hot takes of Monday Night Raw are, and then I read them, I talk about it. I'm going to do this for SmackDown as well. It seems to be working. This is not my idea. I'm going to apply the rule of wrestling to the rule of YouTube. If it works, steal it. When some people become champions, they get an aura boost that is weird to explain. It happened to Damian Priest, who had some pretty forgettable matches before becoming champ, and then he became must-see TV just like Jey now. You're absolutely right, and I know what you're talking about. That aura boost you're talking about is actually confidence. People like people who are confident, and when you get the belt, I could see that wrestlers, they have to be confident in themselves to get to that main event, right? You're putting yourself out there in front of so many people, and you have the audacity to say that you're one of the best, so you have to have confidence in yourself. But the moment you get the belt, it's not just yourself and only you that is confident in you. That belt represents other people being confident in you. It represents Triple H saying, hey man, I'm confident that you can carry the company. That has to do something to a wrestler. That has to give them that stamp of approval that they didn't know they wanted, that they didn't know they needed, and when they get it, they're like, okay, yeah. And then they try harder. Now, of course, I'm just kind of all speculating, but that's how I kind of feel in general. And so suddenly, these wrestlers are even more confident, and now they're going to go out there and confidently wrestle and steal every freaking show, and you can see it. Something has changed. And what that change is that belt and the confidence the belt brings with it, and then their aura just becomes, I don't know, must-see TV. My hot take is that you would look amazing with this belt. How do you get it around your waist? All you gotta do, comment below. Once I hit 10,000 subscribers on my path to being a full-time YouTuber, I will give the belt away. I gotta hit 10,000 subscribers. You gotta be a subscriber. You gotta comment. And please hit the notification bell as well, because that will help these videos get out to unsubscribers, and they will become subscribers, and then I will be one step closer to ruling the world. And I mean, going full-time on YouTube. I forget what I said about ruling the world. That is definitely not in the plans. But don't forget to comment so you can win the belt. Next hot take. Teddy 420, Cody's current WWE title reign will be his only world title in WWE. It will be IC titles, US titles after he drops the title. Oh, wow. Okay, hot take. That is a Cody hater right there. I'm assuming, because, hey, you know what? Maybe you're not. Maybe you love Cody Rhodes. Everyone thought I was a Cody hater for a while there because I kept saying, his title reign is boring. His title reign is boring. I'm actually enjoying Cody Rhodes' title reign right now, but for months people have thought that I was hating on Cody. So maybe you love Cody, but you just see him not living up to the world title and he'll never get it again. I don't know what the case may be. I think this will not be his only title reign. I just don't think so. I think he will have like maybe 3 or 4 in his future, but I hear you. I've said your hot take. I don't agree with your hot take, but you know what? That was brave. You were very brave to voice that, so I do salute you for that, my friend. Donatello Leonardo, LA Knight should take the title off Gunther, not CM Punk or whoever the nostalgia booking that people are coming up with. I get where you're coming from, Donatello Leonardo, and a lot of times we are on the same page. However, this one, not so much. Now, I would love LA Knight to take it. However, I don't think Cena, CM Punk, and even The Rock are the normal nostalgia act that you're kind of lumping them into. To me, a nostalgia act is someone like Goldberg who comes in, does a spear, and then he will pin you and say, what's next? Who's next? You. That is a nostalgia act for me. Goldberg cannot go really in the ring, but John Cena can. The only reason why he seems a little lackluster lately is because the last year or two of his career, he's just been putting people over and over and over, and when you put too many many people over, it kind of diminishes who you are. And so we just see Cena as this like loser, but he's doing that as a service to the business and putting over the younger talent. It's not his fault that Austin Theory and Solo Sikoa weren't able to really capitalize on pinning him. CM Punk just had the best Hell in a Cell in what, 20 years? Who rivals CM Punk's Hell in the Cell? Cody and Seth Rollins? If you are on par with those two, you're more than a nostalgia act to me. And then what about The Rock? The Rock comes back, and let's be honest, we care more about his promos than his in-ring ability, and his promos have been on fire. And not only that, he was an active participant in a 45-minute tag match at WrestleMania 40. So I believe that any of those three are more than a nostalgia act, and if they're the ones to beat Gunther, I'm A-okay with it. However, I would love LA Knight to do it as well, because I would love for LA Knight to bump up into the main event scene and stay there. Rolanda Lynch. Raw is better at 2 hours than 3. There is too much filler in the 3-hour Raw. WWE's roster is bloated. Ironically, your statement about Raw being bloated is a reason to have a 3-hour Raw. The more wrestlers there are, the less airtime there is. So the more airtime there is, the bloated roster gets said airtime. Does that make sense? That said, I am actually happy that 2-hour Raw is back. Let me tell you something. If you guys weren't a part of 2012 to 2019, wow, Raw could be a chore. It has only been 2 weeks now, and holy cow, they just fly by. And it's just crazy to me that people want 3-hour Raws, because I just never thought I would see that day. Not even Triple H wanted 3-hour Raws. He literally said, I wish I could have 2-hour Raws. But somehow, some way, around WrestleMania 40, I think when The Rock was beating up Cody, they figured out how to make 3-hour Raws good. And let me tell you something, I actually enjoy 3-hour Raws. Even though I like 2-hour Raws better, I enjoy 3-hour Raws. Now. So, if it goes back to 3 hours, I'll be okay with it. I'll be happy with it if we're getting the quality in which we've been getting for most of 2024. I cannot pronounce the name. I apologize. Where is Grayson Waller and Austin Theory? I don't think they need them on SmackDown anymore. They could split them up and Austin could move to Monday Night Raw. I had said in the previous video that I don't like just splitting up tag teams to booster a mid-card division. However, I will say this, because of the storyline in which they are in, it's time. Let's just pull the trigger, split them up, and let's see what Austin Theory can do as a good guy. But they need to have a match first. Let them have a match first, and then, I don't know, trade one of them. From Donatello Leonardo, the Women's Crown Jewel Championship is actually good. The dynamic between Nia, Tiffy, Rhea, and Liv is an interesting one. I agree. The women's division Crown Jewel storyline is so much better than Cody and Gunther. Now, they finally did start giving them a storyline because Gunther came out and did his like backhanded compliment or his little dig that he does, and that's great, that's awesome, but that's not enough to fuel a blood feud. And it seems like the Liv, Rhea, Nia, Tiffany, everybody is just kind of like all three sides of this are feuding with each other. It's not like the enemy of my enemy is my friend here. No, they're just all like, everybody's my enemy. Let's just see who comes out on top. The Women's Crown Jewel storyline is very interesting because it's actually a storyline. And there are even stakes involved because both champions can lose their belt, as proven on Raw when Nia was like, hey, cash in your Money in the Bank to Tiffany. For a second, I thought it was even going to happen, which would have been crazy. Legend XD, something's definitely going to happen in the Intercontinental title match next week. Solo posted a photo of his story when Jey was aiming to get the Intercontinental Championship, and Solo put eyeball emojis. So that is very interesting. If Solo Sikoa is putting something about Jey Uso on his Instagram in the week that Jimmy Uso returned to talk to Jey, that kind of says maybe Solo's going to interfere next week with the Jey Uso versus Braun Breaker match. And I think something like that will force Jey to reevaluate his decision to not help Roman and Jimmy. Because right now, he hasn't helped him. He said, no, get away from me, Jimmy, basically. And I don't blame him. Speaking of Jey Uso, here's a hot take. Nico Bellic. Jay's overrated. The fact that he got it before Gable is pathetic. I get where you're coming from, and I get the statement. However, how long has Jey been in WWE, and how long has Gable been in WWE? Because Jay's been here, what do they say? This is a 14-year journey to the Intercontinental belt? That's called paying your dues. However, I do get what you're saying in that Chad Gable has been a singles competitor longer than Jey Uso has been. So if you look at it from those terms, then yeah. And it does seem like Chad Gable has been primed multiple times in his career to completely just take off through the stratosphere, only to just, I don't know, failure to launch, because I just don't know. I don't get it. There were multiple times where it seemed like he was going to be the guy that dethroned Gunther, and then they gave it to Sammy. And then there were multiple times it seemed like he was going to dethrone Sammy, and then he just did it. He literally turned heel to beat Sami Zayn, and he still couldn't do it. And then suddenly, Jey Uso is a singles competitor, says the word yeet, and wins. So I get where he's coming from. I just don't fully agree with it. This is how I would have booked it. Well, first off, Chad would have beat Gunther. Chad would have beat Gunther. But let's pretend we keep the Sami Zayn versus Gunther matchup at WrestleMania. Sami beats Gunther. Chad beats Sammy. Jey beats Chad. And Braun Breaker beats Jey. And Jey would have lost the title, only holding it once, and then gone off into the bloodline. The key here, though, almost everything stays the same, except for Chad Gable wins it from Sammy at the second time they fought each other. The real blue bat hot take, only Jey can pull off that haircut. Hashtag Yeet. And I agree, because what is that haircut? It's like shaved here, hair, long hair. It's a mullet. It's a Samoan mullet. Oh my God. Jey Uso is rocking a Samoan mullet. Yeet, my friend. We acknowledge that haircut. Got the nation. R-Truth should have been the one to turn heel. Ooh, interesting. Instead of The Miz. Remember when we had that classic feud with Cena? He was amazing. Think it was 2011, 2012, if I'm not mistaken. It was 2011. It was the feud, actually, right before CM Punk's pipe bomb, because CM Punk is actually doing it after a match with R-Truth and John Cena, and that was the match after their pay-per-view match at Capital Punishment. I actually really enjoyed that feud as well. It was very, like, kind of out of nowhere for R-Truth to suddenly be in the main event, but I was like, ooh, I like this. I liked R-Truth as a villain a lot. I highly doubt they're ever gonna let R-Truth go bad again, though. At most, he can be a good guy on the team of a bad guy, but I think that's as far as it goes. Kind of like how he teamed up with the Judgment Day. He was technically a bad guy then because they were bad guys, but really he wasn't. You know, he was a comic relief. I think, unfortunately, R-Truth is just going to be comic relief the rest of his career. But don't get me wrong, though, that serves a purpose in WWE. And honestly, certain people can take a comedic role and run with it longer than a serious role. Look at Santino Marella. He has so many iconic moments because he was a comedy character. And same with R-Truth. Would we really care about R-Truth as much if he wasn't making us laugh and being so endearing week in, week out? It's debatable, but I'm with you. Got the nation. I loved heel R-Truth, but I just don't see it happening. Candy Marmaid, I really hope that they keep Cody out of the Bloodline storyline now that it seems like the OG Bloodline will reunite. I thought for a second it was going to be Cody, Roman, KO, and Randy Orton versus the new Bloodline at Survivor Series War Games, but it's looking like that's not the case. Kevin Owens has turned heel, and they could use a Kevin Owens versus Cody at Survivor Series match to keep him completely out of War Games. And if they want it 4-on-4, and if we don't reach into the Zilla Fatus or the Hikaleos of the Bloodline, people that have not been seen, we could easily have Jey, Jimmy, Roman, and Sami Zayn versus the new Bloodline. The Thug Line, as one of my subscribers called it last week. I thought that was hilarious, by the way. They don't use Sami, and they use Cody instead. I'm gonna be upset. The Children of TV, Jimmy and Roman are gonna have to do something huge to get Jey back in the original Bloodline. I agree, and that kind of goes off earlier. I think if Solo does attack Jey during the Jey versus Braun Breaker storyline, and it's Roman and Jimmy who save him, whether or not they save the title, or they just save Jey from a beatdown, I think that'll be enough of an icebreaker to get people to the table to talk forgiveness. Drastic Vision 146, the OG Bloodline reunion is being rushed. I get what you're saying, but I feel with 8 to 9 weeks, that's enough time. Because not just 8 to 9 weeks, but you have 2 shows per week. So that's 18 to 20 episodes of wrestling that we're going to have a build to this reunion. Would I have liked a little more time? Yes, but I still think there's plenty of time to make it happen and make it happen well. But I see where you're coming from. The whole Bloodline storyline was 4.5 years in the making, so to have a reunion, I can see why you would think that it would need to take more time because the Bloodline itself was such a long story, so maybe the reunion needs to be a long story as well. Chris Gutierrez, it seems like if you want to get over today, have a program with Dominic Mysterio. He really is the company's golden goose. Goat emoji. He's having a program with Rhea, and she is super over. But who was his last program with? If you really think about it, he hasn't had many. I know he had a program with Cody Rhodes. He had a program in NXT, but like, who's he really feuding with? I want to see this. I want to see more programs with Dominic Mysterio. Not Judgment Day and Dominic Mysterio. Not Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan. I want to see Dominic Mysterio having a program with somebody, and let's test this theory of getting somebody super over based on having a feud with Dominic Mysterio, because I agree with this guy. Dominic Mysterio is such a heat magnet. Feed him to somebody. Like, literally, feed him to somebody. His face on toilet paper is his merch. Like, literally, let's use that. Southpaw Jimmy. New Day's breakup will only last until the Royal Rumble when Kofi sacrifices himself for Xavier. I can see it. I can see that as a way to get them back together because Kofi is known for being Mr. Royal Rumble with all his crazy little antics, and if he saves Xavier Woods, who knows, maybe that gets them back together. But, I don't know, I kind of would like them to go further. I would like to see Xavier Woods on his own for a while. Now, before their career is done, through the power of positivity, they can all get back together. But, yeah, I kind of want to see what Xavier can do. It's valid. You came with an idea. I'm not coming with any ideas other than I want to see what Xavier can do. So, there you go. Congratulations. But that said, I hope not. And I want to see what Xavier can do. Negligence. Well, Cody Rhodes was crazy tonight. I'm pretty sure he said, I respect you 5 times. He always says the same promo. Also, Jey Uso. That was so funny. I don't read these comments. I really don't read these comments before I say them. That got me. Negligence, you got an actual LOL out of me. Cody saying, I respect you 5 times. That was a crazy Cody Rhodes promo. That was good. That was good. I don't need a comment. That was Negligence comment speaks for itself. Sorry, 1800. Raw was absolute garbage aside from, I guess, Jimmy and Jey and the women's match. One of the worst Raws ever. Sorry, I don't know if you watched Raw in 2019, but like, they had 52 of the worst Raws ever in 2019. I was there for the first Raw, not like there in the building, but I remember watching the first Raw when it happened. And I've seen almost every single Raw, and to me, that was definitely far from the worst. But, hey man, if that's your opinion, that's your opinion. It was, you didn't like the Raw? You didn't like the Raw. I did really enjoy the tag match. I really enjoyed the tag match, and I'm just astounded how good the women's tag division is actually at right now. The women's tag belts, those cursed belts, mean way more than the men's belt. Great job, Bianca and Jade Cargill. I know that you guys were probably thrown together to just make Jade Cargill better, but you made an entire division relevant. But that said, you didn't like Raw. I get where you're coming from. Not the worst, not the best for me, but for you, okay. Karaoke Goku. I feel like Solo isn't going to cost Jay or anything. In fact, I think just the opposite. He might try to help Jay to prevent Jimmy and Roman from getting help. That would be like Sun Tzu Art of War type of thing. I'm going to help a potential enemy. Like, so my real enemies can't get help. That would be like diabolically genius. That is a great idea. Not gonna happen. I don't know if you guys realize how deep strategic thinking that would be. That would be amazing, but I just don't think it'll happen. I think they're going to play Solo as the hot-headed, ill-tempered, short-sighted tribal chief and just go after Jay in a mafia kind of way and say, and see what I did to you, and if you team up with them, I'll do even worse. That's how I see they're going to play it, but your idea is brilliant. Don't get me wrong. I like your idea better than my idea, but I think they're going to go with my idea because it's simpler and easier to tell. But your idea, way better. Deville Stewart, 2037. I don't blame Jay for saying no to his brother Jimmy. Jimmy, no, he regrets for everything for turning his back on him. But the only way Jay can go help Jimmy and Roman if Roman can go to Raw and apologize for everything. I mean, they are twins, so I could actually see Jay forgiving Jimmy first. I do see that. However, that said, I don't blame Jay for saying no to Jimmy either. Let me tell you guys something. You sharing the same DNA with somebody does not give them a license to completely crap on you and your entire life. I get it. They're my family. They're my brother. You might give them more grace than others, but there comes a line when that line gets crossed, and I am sorry, but you cannot let toxic family members bring you down for your entire life. Their toxic actions brought this upon themselves. That said, I really want Jay to go back to the bloodline and help him. That was some real life advice for you, but we're in the world of wrestling, okay? You got toxic family members in your life, you might have to cut them off. But in the world of wrestling, we can forgive, right? I mean, The Undertaker burned down his house, caused his parents' demise just to make his little brother stronger. And you know what? We love The Undertaker. And we'll close on this. Tiffy should cash on Liv, says Cam Nammy. After this huge, deep, even like visceral response of don't let toxic family members like invade your life. We're closing on Tiffy should cash on Liv. And you know what? That would be interesting. I do kind of want to see Tiffy cash in during that champion versus champion match, and suddenly any championship is on the line. That would be very unique and crazy and awesome. It would be a good way to get Tiffy on Raw. I think they were kind of playing with the idea of her being a face here. And yeah, it would be good. It would be interesting. I think, though, that I'd rather see her pin Nia for it. Nia is being a huge B word, and I'm liking it though. I really like Nia Jax right now. But at this point, I want to see Tiffany, do something back to Nia. When a bully bullies you, you gotta punch him in the nose. I want to see Nia get punched in the nose by Tiffany. Or we could just have her beat Liv, and we can see that match eventually down the road, Tiffy versus Nia. But I'd rather just see it now. I hope that Tiffy catches in on Nia, but if she did on Liv, I'd be cool with that too. In fact, when she almost did it on Raw, I popped. I was like, oh my God, it's going to happen. So, like, even though I want to see her cash in on Nia, I would be almost just as happy if she did it on Liv. And I would definitely be satisfied, though, when she wins. Wherever the case may be, as long as she becomes champion. So, those are my WWE Raw hot takes. I will continue to do this series after Raw, SmackDown, and PLEs, as long as I get 5 or 6 hot takes. Please keep them short and sweet and to the point. Try to do only one per subscriber. And guys, girls, have a great day.